Everybody ready? Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to the Carson City Culture Tourism Authority Board of Directors meeting for Friday, January 19th. I'm going to call the meeting to order. May I have the roll call, please?
Yes, Jonathan Boulware.
Here.
Karen Aboud.
Here.
Jesse Domy.
Here.
Renee Plain. Sandra Nagel is absent. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, have any public comment? You're up.
I'm Sharon Ross with Capital City Arts Initiative, and I just wanted to let you know about the new exhibitions that are up for winter. Over the weekend, we hung art from WNC in the brick, and it has artwork by 11 students from WNC throughout the lobby and into the back conference room. I hope you get to go see it. We're pretty delighted with it. We have coming up, hanging at next week, we're going to install Rick Parsons' Writing from Mars over in the courthouse. And then we have Nevada Neighbors coming up in companion with Linda Belgrave's International Film Weekend. We're presenting Robin Hollibird and her new book, well, it's been out for a little bit, Elvis, Marilyn, and the Space Aliens, Nevada Screen Icons, on February 13th. And then on March 14th, we have our renowned Mark Salinas, who's going to talk about art in Carson City. So Robin's going to be speaking at the Brick. We have a new venue for Mark. He's going to be at the Union, so we're going to try migrating around town and see how we can get our audience to follow us. So enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll move on. Possible action, approval of minutes, December 19, 2017 CTA board meeting.
I move to approve the minutes of the December 19, 2017 CTA board meeting as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. Possible action, adoption of agenda. Does anyone see any reason to change the order of any of the agenda items? If not, then we will proceed as the agenda is posted. Possible action to accept the adjusted CTA fiscal year 2018 budget report. Chris.
So this report is for accounting period 5 of fiscal year 18, which is through November 30th of 2017. The room tax revenue payments that are reported as received through November 30th. So we're at 42% of the accounting year. And right now, our income is coming in, the actual is at $989,756. So that's at 46.4. So we're actually over the accounting period. For our expenses, we are at a total of $260,133 for salaries and benefits. And we're right in the zone there. You see the red on page 3 of 5, that's from the payoff, so that'll get adjusted when we do the augmentation. We talked about that last month. On page 4, the red showing there on the office equipment rental lease is the transition between the old Rico and the new printer. That'll also get cleaned up when we do the augmentation. The next one down is the insurance. The insurance has been paid for the full fiscal year, so we might have some, actually, that doesn't look quite right. I'll have to look at that. I think we have some more listed in there because we'll have some special events insurance and such like that, so. The special event, that one jumped up a bit because we just made our first payment to Epic Rides, so that we paid $27,000 for the first of the 2 payments for the year. And then the next one down under operating supplies, we have a new line which is for works of art. So that'll get augmented and so, and what that is, that $30,000 is the first payment for the Da Vinci piece that's out front. And that's it. So as far as expenses, we have a total of $263,826 for services and supplies, which is at 33% of the accounting year. Does anybody have any questions on those?
Chris, in the other services, we have, it's 0542 printing advertising. Our budget is 193,000, and we have only used 11,600. That's only 6%. So are we planning to use that almost 200,000 just for printing advertising?
I think some of this will change a little bit because when we had done the budget, we had it set up with the Rico, and we had the Rico lease, and then we had any additional printing over and above was put into the printing and advertising. Conoca's bills are all over the place right now, so we'll have to do some adjusting, and so some of that lease expense will come down into the printing and advertising. But that will also include advertising outside of our printer. So that would be, if we were using outside agencies to do advertising.
Any other questions, comments on the budget? Any public comment on budget? No, make a motion.
I move to approve the adjusted financial year 2018 budget report as presented through November 2017.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. Possible action to accept the ratification of the CTA Statement of Accounts checks and P-card report for November 2017.
So on page 2 of 5 of your reports, these are your accounts payable checks for November 1st through November 30th. The first big one we have on the top is the Bank of America for $27,000. That's paying for the P-cards you went over last month, which was November 4th through December 4th. The next one down was a sponsorship for the 2017 Capitol Collage and Powwow Dance. That was paying for the rent of the facilities. Next one after that, Capital City Arts Initiative, an annual sponsorship member for $1,000. Then we have our monthly rent for the Visitors Bureau itself. We have computer artistry a little ways down for her design work between October 10th and October 24th. That's any kind of graphic design that Tara was making for us for any of our projects that we're currently working on, which Kyle will probably expand on all that good stuff later. Then further down, we have $7,000 to Glacier Cycling. That was for the sponsorship for the sand pit for the cyclocross that we just did. Kyle was up there at that event, so you're going to hear about that in a little bit. Then we have Cone. We have a couple for Cone for the fiscal year 17 audit. There's one for $5,000 and there's one for $9,000. And that was for the total audit for last year. And then the next big one down is Nevada Momentum, which is photography and content writing. And those are, the majority of those are for the work that they did putting the Carson City visitors. This is our third visitors guide. And that's all the work for this piece here. And then the next one down is that $30,000 we were just talking about for the first payment to Michelle Riley for her Da Vinci sculpture.
Chris, can I ask a question? On the Capital Collage and Powwow to the Boys and Girls Club, how does that break out for the two facilities? Is it on square footage? Is that how they charge?
I'm not sure how they charge. I didn't really look into the detail of that. I know 680 of it was for Capital Collage and the rest was for the Powwow event.
Okay, got it.
For the Capital Collage, that was the rental of the facilities and also staff,
Got it.
Boys and Girls Club adult staff.
Any more questions for the checks? Okay, so then on page 3 of 5 starts the P-card report for November 4th through December 4th. This one has, there's not a lot of big ones on this one. There's a lot of charges for the Arts in the Heart conference that was in Vegas that Joel and Mark attended. And then we have the We Staff Symposium a little further down, so a lot of travel expenses and such like that, just little ones though. Let's see, I get through the right page here. On page 4 of 5, there's a payment for $1,500 to HomeAway. That's a down payment for some of the lodging that they rent a house out for Sea Otter Classic for all the employees that'll be going down to work that event. Then down a little bit further is $700 to Nevada Tourism. That was to pay for 2 people to go down to the Governor's Conference on Tourism. And the next one down is the registration for the Sea Otter Classic that will be working for to promote the bike riding in Carson City. Any other questions on that page? So that's it for November. I'm sorry, I fibbed. Page 5 has one for Casanelli for $4,000, and that's for the site prep for the Da Vinci. Now I'm done.
All right, more questions, comments? Questions, comments from public? All right, go ahead.
Chris, looking at this, we spent a little over 17,000 on the visitor's guide. And I think we were spending a little less in the past. Do we have a budget that we spend for visitor's guide, or is it?
Are you looking at the Nevada Momentum? That is part of their work there, but that's also for all the writing, all the photography for any of the events we do, any of our marketing stuff. So it's not just for this piece. It's also for photography, writing, graphic design. It's the press releases. It's the whole.
Do they bill us once a year?
What's that?
Do they bill us one?
No, whenever we have her do work is when she'll send billing. So if you want a further breakdown, I could bring that to the next meeting, but.
Yeah, why don't you bring the next meeting comparison of what we've done in the past to
Okay.
what we're doing now, and that'll probably clear up some of it. All right, any other, can do a motion?
I move to approve the ratification of the CTA account activity statement of accounts payable checks and P-card charges for November 2017.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes, thank you. Possible action to approve contract number 1718-001 with NV Consulting LLC for management services for a total not to exceed $131,040. Chris, you want to talk a little bit about that?
So on December 19th, you guys at the board directed us to draft an agreement with the terms consistent of RFP 1718-001 and propose the proposal submitted by NV Consulting for management services to provide assistance in developing a new strategic plan that will include the recruitment and succession of a new executive director position. So I worked with Iris, and we put this contract together for the management services as per the RFP that you guys approved last month. So you have the contract there with you and the scope of work that came directly from the RFP.
And correct me if I'm wrong, that contract is it's almost, I wouldn't say identical, but some minor changes from the previous contract that we approved back in October.
Yes, it's similar to the previous one, just with the things that we needed to work out to correct from what we had in there before, I guess.
And the scope of work is the same as what was posted for the RFP?
Yes, it's the one from the RFP. It's not the same scope of work that was originally in the first contract.
And just for the record, I know that we've discussed this before, but with the actual subject matter that's contained in the contract, that wasn't the issue, it was the process, so the contract itself is fine. So that's why we were able to use most of what was in the contract already.
No, thank you for clarifying that. I was just wanted to make sure that's true, that there were not any major changes in the contract. Contract was fine from before, so. We have Joel here. You want to answer your questions, or do you have a statement you'd like to make?
Sure, I certainly can add, for the record, Joel Dunn, NV Consulting, LLC. Just glad to be back in front of you again. This has been a little bit longer process, I think, than most of us were planning for, but we certainly understand why we have to do that. I'm excited. You know, when you look at the scope of work, there's certainly some projects that we weren't finished with as a bureau, which I wasn't finished with as the executive director when I retired back on October 12th. And I really look forward to working with you as a board and the staff to finish some of these projects up. I don't like leaving things unfinished. And when there's issues or projects to do, I also want to be the one that gets, runners on third base. I want to be the one batting, and I want to be here. We've done a lot as a bureau, done a lot for the board over the course of the last 5 years, and in no way wanting to slow down and needing to retire did I want to be absent of the bureau and the process that we're doing for the community. So I'm very pleased to be back in front of you today.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Anyway, I have a question with regards to the scope of work, and this is just driven by conversation, from the city side of things, and wondering if developing a strategic plan to continue to increase the sports tourism market in Carson City, additionally work closely with Parks and Rec and programming, with events that will also attract out-of-area visitors, which also includes arts and culture also. Can part of your team be an events coordinator?
I certainly could look into that. That would be outside of the scope of work that we're doing, but if we wanted to come back and go through the RFP process, absolutely. Through the 20 years that, in fact, if you look at that schedule that was handed out earlier as part of your package you're going to go over, when I left the city, I had 28 events that I'd brought in, and all of those were sports-related events, and we're getting back to that point. We're back to 27. Through this transition, just a month ago, I received a call from a tournament director I had worked with in the past who wanted to bring an additional 7 tournaments to Carson City, and I think you'll see those are the youth sports tournaments. So I immediately had them contact Parks and Rec, being that I was absent of the process, but I look forward to coming back and helping in that. I do think that an event coordinator is specialized, the skill set for that. So I would tend to agree with the city's talking about the need for a special event coordinator. The Bureau, to my knowledge, historically has never had an events coordinator, nor do I think you would necessarily want a full-time coordinator, so I think it would fit into the scope of work to be added to the contract. So I would certainly entertain that. Yeah.
At one point we did the board did commission an events committee, which to look at these types of things as far as, I think over time it evolved into something we didn't want to involve, so we abolished it. But I agree with Karen. I think that's something that's worth looking into, especially when you look at the scope of work and how much things could be characterized as an event. Certainly makes sense for us to look at that.
I'll add to that, some of the going and looking at the logistics before we had signed the contract with Epic Rides. Grand Junction has kind of the same type of a setup. They've got actually an event team that they contract out through the city and also their visitors authority. So maybe it would be more than just one if we were looking at all of the events. Certainly needed in the community, and I think it would streamline and we could maximize the return on the investment, not only for the Bureau, but for the city. So yeah, I'll love to sit down and talk.
And my thought is that we don't have overlaps and, too many things that kind of roll one along into the other and float everybody's boat, as opposed to, this or this. So, that's why I see the need. I think it's important.
All right, any other questions on the contract? Scope of work? Anything for Joel? Anything from the public? Want to comment on this particular agenda item? All right.
I move to approve contract number 1718-001 with NV Consulting LLC for management services for a total not to exceed $131,040.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. Congratulations, Joel. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
All right, for discussion, internal audit of the Capitol Collage 2017.
So this one page that you guys have in your packet, and it was posted as late material on the website, it's also available in the back there. But basically, this is just when, Jesse, you had asked for a breakdown of the accounting for Capitol Collage. So what I've listed here is basically the income and the expenses. There are probably some other in-kind stuff as far as income goes that that would be with Mark and Joel to discuss, but this is basically your accounting breakdown. So for the income, we brought in $3,600 for event tickets. Then there was single raffle tickets sold for $440. Then there were raffle tickets for, you could buy a dozen of them. $1,100 brought in there. And then donations of $1,540 for a total of $6,680. Expense-wise, these are broken down in a category. So the first batch is art assets, and we labeled it as such because these artists here created art that Mark intends on passing on to the city in the arts. So that's why that's listed that way. Those are the total expenses for it. I don't know what the asset value is, but that's what we've spent on those artists that gave us tangible art that Mark's planning on passing to the city. The next batch is entertainment, arts, and miscellaneous. So this would be art for the event that, such as tablecloths, banners, different things like that. And then also the food and the entertainment for the show. And that amounted to $9,532.71. And then the bottom section is money that was spent on marketing, different for like graphic design, advertising, putting things out in Nevada Press Association, press releases that were written, photography that was taken, such, and that's $1,302 for a total expenses of $14,809.71.
So Chris, if I understand, on the expenses, the art assets is not part of the entertainment arts miscellaneous total?
Right, those are
Okay.
separated because those actually have pieces of artwork that Mark will be able to hand over to the city. The other art might be something like the backdrop that was used for the photo booth type of different things like that. Maybe.
There were elements of, as you were there, temporal entertainment, and then there were other physical commissions that we kept, and the intent is to take those assets plus a couple of the parasols that were on the cover of the program collect those as actually one artwork, one documentation of this festive, historic moment, and transfer that to the city, just as we're doing with Da Vinci. So it's going to be sort of a documentary collective piece of that moment.
So if you can just elaborate a little bit on Nevada, with the marketing portion of things. Facebook is pretty straightforward, and computer artistry is going to be graphics, but Nevada Momentum and the Press Association.
So I have one for $400 for a Capital Collage press release from September of 2016. I have another press release distribution for $150. We have some project management for $150. I think that, I'm not positive on the breakdown of the project management, but I think part of that is that Terry Vance, who does the writing for us, she was on a trip out to visit some people in Elko, so she stopped along the way at all the places between here and Elko, and also went to the Elko Visitor Center and places like that to distribute the posters and stuff like that. And I believe Kat did something similar on a trip down to Vegas.
Chris, what I'm thinking is that was an article, that did occur, that was an article for the Nevada Day program content, not necessarily, so we might have to take another look at that. Wasn't for the event itself. That was just writing on the content of the parade, which happened to be arts and entertainment.
And then I have some more media distribution for $75 there. So those are kind of how those were broken out on their invoices.
I just want to comment, $1,300 is pretty low as a marketing budget.
A lot of this stuff too, kind of went hand in hand with the Nevada Day, which basically this reporting is only breaking out what was specifically labeled as Capital Collage. So, like some of the photography and different pieces like that, like the cover of the shoot that she did of the, I can't think of her name now, the ribbon, the one we used for the posters and everything like that, that was also incorporated with some of the shoot of the Nevada Day program, so some of them overlap, and I didn't go to that extreme because I think you just guys wanted to know what was, these are all listed directly as Capital Collage.
We did a photo shoot and a video for the cover of the Nevada Day program, if you recall. And that was marketing the Nevada Day itself, but Capital Collage held the same theme,
But that also doesn't include the non-paid social posts and promotion that we did through that, as well as, going to the different meetings, RTT, Reno Arts Council, things like that. So there was additional promotion that was just kind of lumped in with like staff time, and salaries that's not included there. So if the marketing does seem a little bit low, that was just for the paid stuff that we did, not the earned stuff or just some of the stuff that I was doing in addition to that. So.
Is the Nevada Press Association charge, is that for like their newswire to get it out throughout the state in different areas?
Yeah, I'd asked Momentum that we needed to advertise it statewide for the content, and that was for I think a 2-inch by 4-inch ad.
They also have a newswire that will distribute everything that I know is a paid service because we use it for our agency. So, and then what are your thoughts on doing this year and pushing forward with that?
Well, on the 24th, we're going to discuss it with the Cultural Commission. It's on our agenda for discussion. It was on the eve of the parade because of the theme of the parade itself. That was really the appropriate time to sort of pull the trigger on that event, on the Da Vinci install, as well as trying to organize some content of the parade itself. We had a number of organizations that built floats and added to the festivities. The thought was that we're going to discuss maybe having it in February, which would be February 2019. So that was the idea, doing an inside event when it's a bit cold. And so we'll discuss it more. I think we're going to have the same conversation on Wednesday, the 24th. Yeah.
Anything else you want to see with this, Jesse?
I do have one question. On the art assets, it's almost $4,000 and we're gonna hand it over to the city. Are we gonna get something reimbursed, or are we planning to do this every year? What's our planning about that?
Well, this would follow in the same process as we're doing for Da Vinci, where it's being purchased with that 1%, and being forwarded as an asset to the city for them to maintain, to ensure, as part of the Arts and Culture Master Plan of building that city, collection.
And just to elaborate further, Jesse, I think it's just to start Carson City Arts, some, own city art that, we can showcase. And that's my thinking.
Has the city designated any place where all this art is gonna go? Do we know that?
All right, any more discussion on this item?
Oh, if you don't mind, I have some letters that people wrote in about Capital Collage. Thank you. This is from Quest Lakes and Theo McCormick, co-founders of the Resident Art Program in Silver City. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on Capital Collage. We both attended and were delighted with the way the event brought together multiple forms of art by diverse urban and rural artists and performers in a celebratory atmosphere that skillfully highlighted our rich arts and culture community. Thank you. I have something here from Supervisor Bonkowski, who was there with Andy Wilson. We attended the 1027 Capital Collage event with our kids in their 20s, and we all loved it. We would love to support this event in some ongoing capacity. Changing the date to a winter date, since your event can be held indoors, is brilliant, as I think holding it on Nevada Day weekend provided too many competing events for your first-time event. I saw people at Capital Collage event age 21 and into their 70s, and everyone had a blast. It would be great if there was a way to open up the event later into the evening, 9 or 10 p.m. for teenagers, once alcohol is removed and dinners are done. The music was great, the visuals were great, and I would love to work with you and collaborate with the Teen Center to get more of our youth exposed to an event like this, with an abundance of visual and auditory art components to enjoy. Such an event is pretty much non-existent for our teens growing up in this rural area. We very much look forward to seeing what the next Capital Collage event has in store for us. What an absolute treat. Judy Harris from Las Vegas, she's the chair of Cultural Alliance of Nevada, attended as well. I did attend the Capital Collage and was so very impressed with everything from the layout of the art displays to the auction items to the food and drink and the performances that night. Bravo to you and your team. At Cultural Alliance Nevada, our focus is arts advocacy statewide, and we also appreciated the statewide artist presence at the event. When I arrived, I couldn't get over the fact that I couldn't find a parking space. What a great accomplishment, and what I understand was a very short amount of time. Thank you for your tremendous efforts in bringing more art and arts awareness to our state capitol. And then just one more from Jason Justice, who's a board member of the RAC committee here. My wife Veronica and I thought that the first Capital Collage event was of great value to the community, and we hope that it becomes a Nevada Day tradition. Well, we'll see. The use of the space was very innovative, and we appreciated the incorporation of statewide cultural talent. Overall, the event was very well planned, effectively managed, and engaging enough to say from the time the doors opened to the closing. Over the long term, the funding stream from this event should make a dramatic difference in our city's ability to support the arts, and of course, we are looking forward to next year's event. Thank you for the investment of your time and talent in this event and in Carson City in general. Thanks.
Congratulations, thank you for sharing that. Yes, ma'am.
Rather than sending it to Mark, I thought I'd bring it to you. Capital Clause was amazing, exciting, and a first-time event for Carson, with artists from Carson, Las Vegas, Reno, Points East, with Burning Man, folkloric go dancers, visual art event, aerobatic performers, and many, many more artists and art from around the state. The event was professionally presented and well-attended. Thank you to Mark for his vision, energy, leadership, and creativity. Thank you to this board for your funding and for your support. The event brought statewide attention to Carson City's arts and culture environment and additional funding to help support the city's public art endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Depending on what happens Wednesday and deciding on if the event moves to a different date or not, a media plug right away that, this event is going to continue, but transition to this particular date is probably not too soon to start creating the buzz again.
Absolutely. Thanks, good idea.
Today I saw in the Nevada Appeal that an art exhibition in Fallon was sent in to advertise in, the Nevada Appeal, and I thought, wow, we should be doing the same, sending our stuff out there as well.
All right, any last discussion? Any comments? All right, move on. Non-action items, transient occupancy report.
So this is the transient occupancy report for November of 2017. We brought in a total of 1,517,943 total, which is 34% up from 2016. The total for the calendar year is 20,504,000, which is up 28% from 2016. And for the fiscal year, we're at 11 million, which is up 31% from 2016. It's up 10% from the 2015, which was a similar legislative type year. And the only part we're having that's going down would be the remaining, which is a lot of the 28-day stay type properties. I think we're getting more of those coming in. And then we also had some of the FEMA, some of the properties had people pay the 28 days in advance, so we didn't have revenue for that. The trailing 12 is at 21 million this year, and it was at 17 last year, so that's up 26%. And it's up 37% from 2015. The RevPAR, the top 5, is at $75.31 versus the $56 from last year, so that's up 32%. The top 13's up 31%. The RV's pretty much staying the same, up 1%, and then that remaining's down 11%. And then on the back side is the occupancy. The occupancy for the top 5 was 10,000, which is up 66% from, or I'm sorry, that's 70% occupied. Last year we were at 66% occupied. Top 13, it was at 18,000, which is 56% occupancy. And in 2016 we were at 52, so that one's still going up. RV's gone down just a tiny bit. They stay pretty stable though. And then the remaining, there was 474 in the remaining this year, and last year it was 810. So that's where we're seeing some of the, and then the 28-day stay took up 16,000 nights. Do you have any questions on that one?
So Chris, you're saying the 28 plus was more in 17, but according to this report, we were about 1,200 rooms fewer in 17 in the 28-day.
Yeah, there's, the difference on the occupancy here is we don't have the available So it's a little hard to report these that way, but it's the dollar amounts that are, because of the people that are paying in advance. I mean, I can double check those numbers again, but
Primarily FEMA was here in September, October, and then November, there were not as many as in the last 2 months.
and then I think we had some like school functions and a couple things like that might have, because I have some of the reporting from some of the lodging properties that show that they've got tax exempt people coming in. So basically, on your occupancy report, these numbers here are showing the non-taxable room nights that are normally, but that on the front, you're including those people plus any like federal exemptions, plus any state exemptions and such like that. So that's why your dollars are looking different than your occupancy on that. Does that make sense? I'm not probably saying it very well, but.
And that was on this page, you're talking about this remaining, this?
Yes, so the remaining, the dollars amounts that are in there is where you're going to see the difference with the. So if you guys don't have any questions on that one, we're going to move on to the Cultural Commission update from Mark. You good?
Hi. I apologize for not being here in December. I was at a quarterly Arts and Culture Commission meeting in the city of Sparks, but I watched the video when I got home. So thank you, Chris, for mentioning that. Okay, here we go. Da Vinci update. As you've probably seen, we are finally complete with the installation of the piece. Briggs Electric installed 3 beams. The heads are small. This is not going to interfere with cutting the grass. They are within the parameters of the concrete. The artwork, guess what, has been attracting wildlife. So we actually had a deer walking through there the other day. But also, when I was there, I noticed a lot of trash. This is just some stuff I picked up. It's windy here. We get a lot of stuff from other parking lots and stuff. But hold that thought, because I actually had gone there to determine what we're going to do for signage of this piece. I'm a little opposed to putting up, a metal stand and a post and dropping some more concrete in the ground. And what I wanted to do was, and what I'm waiting to hear back from Parks and Rec on, is installing 2 pieces of vinyl. It's called First Surface, so that's on the outside of the window. We can have a picture of the artist and some information. It'd be visible if you're looking at the sculpture. It'd also be an opportunity for people using the ADA ramp and other guests of the theater to read something about the piece, not necessarily having to go up to it. In that, I thought it'd be nice to have a little line item that we could replace, but something to the effect of maybe the lawn is maintained by Boy Scout Troop 1, 2, 3 or something like that, and so we can actually make sure that the sculpture's lawn is maintained, and also provide another layer of collaboration with a local organization. In addition, Tara's working on making some signage for the LED sign. And I asked that maybe we'd have the same image back to back. Welcome to Carson City, that's in Italian. And inside the mind of Da Vinci, the artist Michelle Riley, that part would have to be a lot larger. That would probably be only 2 feet when it's out there, but that's something that's in the works. And, public sculpture often becomes public landmarks for rallying, for sharing concerns. You've seen the Believe sculpture in Reno. It has actually been the place to go to when you have to rally for some cause or something. I was curious because someone had tied a scarf to the sculpture, and I thought maybe someone had lost a scarf. But I walked up, and here's what it said: "This isn't lost. It's here if you need a snuggly friend from the cold to keep." So it's interesting how this sculpture is kind of starting to become a landmark for artist interventions, humanitarian interventions. I thought it was kind of cool. The Reno Phil has asked me to be on the task force. This is their 50th year anniversary. And, this stuff opens my eyes because I've learned that funding for the arts is only one half of the issue at hand for all arts organizations, and I think all organizations in general. The other half of that argument is, how do we bring in a new audience without losing our old audience? This is what I'm hearing at a lot of these meetings. I was happy to have Art Spot Reno give me a call and want to have a mural tour of Carson City. So, Sharon, we brought them here. They wanted to know what was going on, and they had made some postings on Instagram, and we saw this is another fine mural in Carson City. This is an early Eric Burke one. There's Bryce's work at the BAC. So Art Spot Reno joins these groups, and within the last 4 months, these groups, notable groups from Reno, have contacted me wanting to take part in something in Carson City. So I'm really happy about that, and we'll see what happens. On December 15th, Lupe Ramirez spearheaded our Christmas Posada, Hispanic celebration. These are actually the same folkloric dancers that are on the cover of this magazine. This event actually opened up the floodgates for that organization, because not only were they hired for the State Museum's Day of the Dead celebration, WNC also hired them for this as well. Traditional costumes and dance. I thank Jeff Munson for picking this up to write about. And of course, food and drink. Are they really?
Yeah.
You guys are making more and more. We're not going to be able to afford them next year, right? On February 8th to 11th, I'm going to go to Las Vegas to do some research. Now, as we were just speaking about Capitol Collage, the Neon Museum, they are putting together their second annual fundraiser. So I'm curious to see what their template is for going from year 1 to year 2. They are also acknowledging their local visitors bureau for contribution to the arts. So, also, my colleague, this is Allie Haynes-Hamblin in front of City Hall here. She's my counterpart there in Las Vegas. Their cultural commission just celebrated 30 years. Our cultural commission is celebrating 10 years this year. And I think it's a great opportunity. They're also opening up their new exhibition center. I think it's a great opportunity to put on the table. And so I've been meeting with the Visitors Bureau there and with Allie's team on seeing if we can create some sort of art exchange between Carson City and Las Vegas. I'm going to be staying at a board members from the Nevada Arts Council who lives in Las Vegas. He's going to let me stay over at his place. And I think between these three organizations, we can put something together, because, of course, our mission for the Nevada Arts Council is creating exchange and unity throughout the state for arts. So I think this could serve a lot of purposes. On top of that, I have a meeting with U.S. Marshal Christopher Hoy. This is the U.S. Marshal for the state of Nevada, and I reached out to him to see if he would be interested in speaking at our True Grit event. Now, the story of line for True Grit is a young girl whose father was murdered by a bad guy, and she hires the likes of Rooster Cogburn, who was played by John Wayne in the '69 movie, who was a U.S. Marshal, to hunt down the bad guys. Christopher Hoy, I've done some research on him. I think I might bring him to the Boys and Girls Club. This guy has an incredible story. He's an uplifting guy. I mean, his background, he could really be a motivational speaker. And I'm really thrilled to have him as part of our events here, because I think it's going to bring in some people who wouldn't normally attend an arts and culture event. Perhaps the DA's office, right, Iris? Or perhaps some law enforcement. Oh, and I forgot to mention Obama nominated him in 2010. I was a fly on the wall at the Nevada Artists Association on January 13th. Fred Howland is their new president. On February 24th, at 5 p.m., they're relaunching their gallery. They just did an entire big renovation. And it's going to be like here's our new gallery and a new meet and greet of their new board members. And so I'm really excited to work with Fred. Fred was one of our artists who signed up to be on our Artrepreneur workshop that we did, and he's been attending our cultural commission meetings. Carson Valley Arts Council reached out to me, had a meeting with them, and to produce some sort of artist or workshop exchange. I was a bit surprised when they told me that they actually looked to Carson City, that they've actually gone through our master plan, and they've been watching our moves to see what they should do. So there's an interesting tidbit. They're working on turning this facility, which used to be a lumber manufacturing plant, into a 500-seat theater. This is the inside. So this is sort of like their BAC. Inside's artisan shop and some works for sale. You had mentioned where we were going to put this artwork. Here's another scenario. The Silver City Artist Residency reached out to me, and they said artist Scott McLeod, who is a board member of your organization, right, Sharon?
Advisory board.
Advisory board.
Sure.
He did a residency in Silver City. He built this clipper out of driftwood. There's with a marble base. There's a good close-up thing. And they were interested in knowing if we had an appetite to exhibit it here in Carson City. I said, let me get back to you on this. Of course, I'd love to, but we need to start thinking about where smaller works that are not 7.5 tons are going to live here in Carson City. I applied for a leadership program. The Intercultural Leadership Institute is an organization formed by Polynesian, Native American, African American, and Hispanic advocacy groups. And they offer an expense paid leadership program where they call you to meet. They meet you 3 times a year. And I think this would be a great opportunity for me, should I get it, to really take advantage of the Hispanic and Native American culture that surrounds us, so I can better communicate with our neighbors and showcase their talent, their artwork, and their culture. So I'll hear back from this in February. This is this week. The Reno Arts Consortium I attend every month, usually to absorb information. If you recall, I went there to advertise Capital Collage. This is Linda Belgray, who was speaking about her International Film Festival, and she was also plugging Sharon's organization. You recall Sharon when she passed those out, one of her presenters. So I love seeing our local arts organizations collaborate. I put the Reno Arts Consortium on Linda's radar, and within a week she was out there on their agenda. I used this as my first opportunity to actually share with Rena what we were doing. So I think going forward, what I'll probably do is reach out to our local organizations, send me a one-pager, and I'll go out there and distribute some information as well so we can grow our audience. Last night, the chair and vice chair of our cultural commission joined me at the Reno State of the City. It was held at the Pioneer Center for the Performing Arts. The theme was arts. As you can see on the bottom, there is their space whale and their belief. Our equivalent would be our Da Vinci, right? This was a spectacle. They had ballerinas. When you walked in, there was a Reno Jazz Orchestra. The MC was a comedian. Every seat was packed. They had Reno's Controlled Burn doing fire on the stage. Here's Mayor Sheeby, and you can see some of the artwork that was behind her, but there was some great production time put into this. You know, sometimes when you watch these Oscars or Grammys, in advance they'll film sort of a mockumentary of the MC backstage knocking on green doors saying, hey, ready in 5, and that sort of stuff. So that's actually what they did with all their ward members. And towards the end, they were following the mayor out, and then, of course, this is all pre-recorded. it faded to black, and there she comes walking out. It was really humorous. All of their supervisors were in their green rooms doing yoga or playing, their Nintendo. It was quite humorous, and they had a good time doing it. Travel Nevada last year did an artist residency. They stipended an artist to do a residency on the loneliest highway, and we weren't on the radar till we missed an opportunity because there was no communication there. They're doing it again with Atlas Obscura, this time on Highway 95. And so I reached out to Travel Nevada. I said, please dial me in on this so we can somehow celebrate this. That's on the horizon. Thank you, Ann Knowles, for attending our last Cultural Commission meeting, plugging Maureen Conlon's new 501c that she wants to put together. And then for our wrap-up, this was at the first week of January, it was an article on what 2018 is going to bring, and there's our 20-foot-long rattlesnake that was an early celebration for our NEA True Grit grant. If you're familiar with the novel, you know that a rattlesnake changes a story in a big way there towards the end. Thank you. If you have any questions or comments, I could be happy to answer those.
No, thank you, Mark. Thank you for sharing. It's very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
You keep busy, don't you? Yeah, good job.
So when they get set up over there, Kyle's going to do his marketing report.
Give me 1 second.
While he's doing that, we do have a couple of these schedules in here. This one came originally from Parks. This is the one that we brought in as late material. It's posted. But then this one here, this other one that you got, Kyle and James have been working on this one. They took the schedule from Parks and then went ahead and added the other events that we know of as of today. The sports one should be updated on the 26th, and so we'll bring a newer one back at the next meeting. And I think Kyle's ready now.
Well, that's one slide I don't have to talk about now.
Oh, sorry.
All right, so Kyle Horvath, Marketing Manager for the Culture and Tourism Authority. This is the the update for the marketing efforts through the month of December. And so, like Chris said, you've got the 2018 special events list in front of you. Right now, there's actually 69 events on there, so rounding up to 70 events so far. The sports tournaments and events got sent in from Scott Chapman the day he got back from vacation. He did say that there were some events that he was not able to get on there. So like I said, on the 26th, that'll be updated with a lot more of the youth sport events. But the main tournaments are on there, and as far as we know, it's from the city's calendar, so those are accurate. What James Solanoan and I did is went through and added all the events that we know about in addition to the ones that the Parks and Rec had on there. So this 5-pager is the master list with everything that we know it as of right now. But we do have the Excel spreadsheet as the master list, so as new events get booked and confirmed, and there's ones that are kind of in the works right now that we didn't want to put on here because they're not quite confirmed yet. But you'll see a number of trail running events, the mountain bike epic rides, Rockabilly Riot, the concert series, Concert Under the Stars. We're waiting to hear Taste of Downtown to put the date on that, but that's usually in July. So, of course, these are the more major tourism-related impact events. If you look at our calendar, obviously there's hundreds more on there.
How soon do you think you'll know the youth sports events? Because just from a business standpoint, that is huge. It impacts how you staff.
Yep, and then so that was, we were told the 26th from Scott that would be updated. So the major tournaments are on here. The local youth sports stuff is not yet. So of course, please take a look at this. This is not for promotion or public consumption. This is for internal use only and for your own staffing and things like that. So, Jesse, thanks for putting a fire under us to complete this. So take a look at that.
And I did notice that these two don't match because here on this one, the comp stock is 21st and 28th, and on this one, it's 1 week off.
Okay, thanks for pointing that out. I'll go ahead and confirm that with Scott and then change that accordingly. This was going to be my last slide today because we did not have our visitor's guide in when I was creating this, but I moved it up to the second one because, as you can see, we have our new Arts and Culture visitor's guide that just came in today. Of course, the cover is striking as usual. It was nice to be able to put kind of reference the Hispanic culture in our community because the last couple guides have been Native American dancers. So as you go through, you'll see there's 5 new articles that Kat and her team was able to write, and I'd kind of gone over a couple of them last time with the Boyer, or Lupe Ramirez, Julie, but then there's also a couple that Stewart Indian School, but then also a nice piece on the Carson City Art Walk, which is the guide is being upgraded and updated to have some new personalities in there. So you see we've got one from Rosca Entertainment, Carson City Classic Cinema Club, and then the antique store, Hannafin's Antiques. So as usual, really excited and proud of this piece. I do want to reiterate that the expenses from last month that Chris was talking about, that $17,000, was not all of this. There was a number of photo shoots that went in that contributed to that as well, but we'll get that breakout. But again, really, really happy with this piece. And this piece last year won 2 statewide awards, one as Best Guide and one as Best Marketing Piece. One was for advertising and one was for story and content. So 2 awards statewide, so we're looking for some similar results.
Kyle, will you be at the meeting on Wednesday so that you can show this and
Yes.
discuss kind of the breakout?
And so I'll just jump forward on that one. I've been asked on Wednesday to give a marketing year in review. So if you are interested in a little bit more detail of what the Visit Carson City team has done for the arts this year, as well as the results, which are exceptional, I'll be breaking it down a lot more on Wednesday. So including Capital Collage too, if there's still interest in that. So we're already working on stories for the next guide, and we had a meeting this morning with Deborah Bottinger, who is our artist, who's working on revamping the Blue Line Trail, soon to not be the Blue Line Trail, just the Kit Carson Historic Trail. So there will be a new map and new images of all the homes that have been hand-drawn and things like that. So we're looking forward to getting that into the next guide. So feel free to take a second and look through. We are getting 10,000 copies to us, and of course those get distributed not just statewide to all the conferences that we go to and things like that. Travel Nevada distributes them internationally, and they pretty much, we have a box in every one of our cars, so anytime we travel, usually those things are going around with us. All right. So you've been seeing some bills from some digital remarketing that we've been doing. So I finally have gotten a comprehensive enough report back from the past couple months to go ahead and report on some of the results of that. So Reach Local is a geofence remarketing organization company. They offer more, but we were interested in their geofence services. So we were working with them on pretty much we wanted to do a split campaign, one on the outdoors and one on dining, because we've had so many new restaurants that have been opening up. Culinary arts is absolutely something that we should be promoting, and the fact that it's farm to fork, and that provides very unique, localized, content for us to promote. With Reach Local, we did those 2 things. Now, what they're able to do is they're able to geofence a conversion area to tell how many people that actually got shown your ad drove through that conversion area or went through that conversion area. So our conversion area is downtown Carson City. So what I want to show you here compared to the other one that we did is that conversions at the bottom is actually how many people came through and drove down Carson Street. Not interested in the freeway, not interested in 50. We want to see how many people actually made it downtown in front of the Visitors Bureau for that block between the Bureau and the State Museum. So for just the month of November, over 102,000 impressions. Of that, there was 112 clicks. So, as you know, click-through rate percentages are pretty low, but that actually is within the industry standard, just kind of on the lower end of the spectrum at a 0.1%. But the cool thing is we know for a fact that over 1,500 people who were shown that ad came down to Carson City and came to our downtown. And so because they have that, the recommendation is that we not do as broad of an area of marketing. So, some of the places that we geo-fenced are the top 4 hotels in downtown Reno, some of the places in Truckee, some of the places where if somebody's sitting there in Tahoe or wherever and they see an ad for dining in Carson City, there's actually a potential for them to get in the car and come on down. So that conversion rate in comparison is actually really, really high for the first month of doing this campaign. So that's actually pretty cool.
Do you include Sparks? And do
Yes.
you, okay, and Douglas County? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And we're
Lake
interested.
Tahoe.
And we're interested in the places where tourists hang out. Because if they're here, they've already booked their room at this place, we might as well get some of those dollars to come down to go towards, the bottom line of taxes, So getting them into the business community was the goal of this campaign. It's pretty small. We're doing $1,000 a month, so it's a pretty manageable budget to see if it's something that we want to boost up. Now you'll see for dining, pretty similar in regards to the click-through rate. It was shown over 58,000 times, 60 clicks to our dining page, and so 738 people that were shown that came down into Carson City to our downtown. From that point, we lose them, so we can only assume that they went into businesses, shopped, dined, things like that. Reach Local was the organization that we worked with to geo-fence the entire Rancho San Rafael Park, as well as the sponsoring hotels up in Reno for Cyclocross Nationals. So we'll be getting those numbers back to see how many people within that effort made it down to Carson City as well. So the other remarketing campaign that we do that's a little bit more expensive, but that also offers keyword searching, geofence locations, and site retargeting. We broke this down into 3. So we've got the arts, we've got the outdoors, and we've got trains. I had a meeting with Brad Bonkowski. No, not Brad. Brad Bancroft. Sorry, he has the hardest name to spit out. But from the Nevada Appeal, and so trains, now that it's off season, we're switching that over to dining as well. So we'll have an arts ad out there, we'll have an outdoors ad, as well as a dining, and those are all animated. So with the arts one, this was because they don't have the ability to do the conversions in the area. We went ahead and spread this out a little bit further. So we were targeting our normal drive markets of San Francisco, the Front Range of California, all the way down to Los Angeles and San Diego. So with the arts, for just the month of November alone, over 183,000 impressions, 218 clicks, click-through rate a little bit higher. Geofencing, which is actually really cool because for the arts aspect of it, we were doing Crocker Arts Museum, Hollywood Wax Museum, the big museums and art galleries in San Francisco, Sacramento, Los Angeles. And so the idea is that if you're already there as an art supporter, the minute you leave that gallery and you pull up your phone, here comes an ad for the arts for Carson City, directing it to our arts page. So click-through rate for the geofencing was even higher, and for the site retargeting, the click-through rate a little bit lower, but you could see the impressions were a little bit lower. You can see the total down there of total impressions just for the month of November. For biking in the outdoors, same thing. Click-through rates right in that, hovering a little bit higher than the Reach Local ones, but that's more what the focus was. You could see the site retargeting for bikes at 0.21%. That's extremely high. So what that would say there is that those sites that we chose, that the groups are going to, they're bike related, and people are clicking through to our bike page. You can see the totals down at the bottom. And again, the places that we targeted for this were bike shops, and things like that throughout California. And then trains, again, targeting train locations, train museums, train-centric areas. So we had the keyword retargeting, geofence retargeting, which is still right within the standard, but you can see the site retargeting for trains even higher, almost abnormally high. And so, the conclusion from that is if I'm on a train site and I see a train ad, I'm going to click through to it. So we'll see how dining does, now that train season is gone, but of course we'll be picking this up because these are year contracts. Reno Cyclocross Nationals was last week at Rancho San Rafael Park. This is a really big deal for the region as a whole, as big of a deal as Epic Rides was for the region, not just for Carson City, but, having that national branding that we are a bike-friendly destination and that if you are a cyclist of multiple disciplines, we have something here for you. So this was probably the most comprehensive sponsorship that we've done to date. And so what that means is not only for the price of the sponsorship of the sand pit, which included banners hanging there. They made posts, or our banners that we had, plus the banners that they had made for us around the park. We were actually there in person, making a presence for the entire week, speaking to people in person. We were mentioned over the PA more times than any event I've ever been to. The announcers from USA Cycling did an amazing job. Every time a rider came through the sand pit, it was the Visit Carson City sand pit, the visitcarsoncity.com sand pit. Make sure to follow hashtag #RideCarsonCity. So they were announcing consistently over the two stands. And the clincher for us is that this was a nationally televised, but viewed from around the world, because cyclocross is an international sport and Europeans are even nuttier than Americans are about this. So the fact that it was televised and we had all of those additional things, and then we also geofenced the event so that while people were there, even if we didn't catch them at the tent to talk to them in person, they saw that ad while they were in Reno, directing them either to outdoors or dining, because that's what we were doing for Reach Local. Now, why is it beneficial for us to be there? My impression when I work at these bike-centric events and shows is people assume that if you're there promoting cycling or bikes that you have trails. They want to see it with their own eyes. They just are. They say, how many miles do you have? How much of it is on single track? From that point on, they're interested in all the other stuff that they can do while they're there. So again, that's arts and entertainment, culture, museums, dining, all of that stuff. So to be able to on a one-on-one level, be like, yeah, we're a killer bike destination and our mountain bike race is best in the country. The entire Carson City experience is this, and it was very, very well received, because we're talking about 1,700 riders from across the country, Midwest, Colorado, New England, all of that stuff, now looking at Carson City. So the televised stream, the live stream that went around the world, currently between the Saturday and Sunday is well over 100,000 views. It keeps growing all the time. The user-generated post on Instagram produced over 500 likes. I'm still finding tags or posts that we've been tagged in. Thousands more impressions, and some of the user-generated videos that were non-USA Cycling have already had over 5,000 views on YouTube. I was pretty active on Instagram because I didn't want to blow up Facebook too much. We did make a few Facebook posts, which did result in people from Carson City coming to the event and watching it. I don't think it had anything to do with you coming to the event, but it was great seeing you there.
I was dragged to that.
Well, hopefully you had a good time, because that was a pretty fun day that you were there. But my social posts alone, almost 6,000 impressions, 924 video views, 160 post likes, and 7 new page likes from people that were not from Northern Nevada. Website update, been pretty much in the wintertime. It's refreshing pages, it's redesigning them using the new images that we have. Before I go into the 2 pages that we just rebuilt, 2,000 views a week, and 4,000 plus page views a week. This is actually almost double what we were doing this time last year. Winter is traditionally very slow for website views, especially January and or December. So this is actually up. Our bounce rate stays about the same at 66%, so that's about 2.1 pages per unique viewer that comes in. So I'll go ahead and bounce out. I just wanted to go through. We're working with all the running groups to try to boost running up, the same that we did for biking. So had been working with EJ from Tahoe Mountain Milers and Kevin Bigley from Ascent Runs on trying to create a much better page so that when we go out and market and send people back, we can consider ourselves for being runner-friendly communities and getting a lot more of that notoriety. Now, when I look at other communities that are runner-friendly communities, what they don't have, these are some of the articles that we've done on runners. What they don't have is this, and this is new, and this is the master list of trail events that are put on by our trail running groups. So that's Tahoe Mountain Milers and Ascent Runs. And so what you'll see is we've got a running race, if not two, almost every single month out of the year. And this is reflected on your master list that you have for all of those links to it, distances, things like that, as well as back to the clubs themselves. Now, when I was doing that, I was realizing that our bike page was not as visually attractive as our running page was now. So I went ahead and built that up. And so now, what's happening is we had redesigned the post to be more photocentric. We went into the galleries page, the public art page, the museums page, and continue to use this format of being photocentric. So what you'll see now is instead of having 3 separate pages for biking, we've got all the information in the same format that's starting to be consistent across the entire site. Road cycling, and then of course BMX. And I would absolutely love to help them out with their website, as well as additional resources and things like that. So again, just using this winter downtime to kind of update our website and get that really
Kyle,
consistent.
how does this interface with the app? Because the app has some errors on it. Will you be spending time, or do you have to rely on somebody else to do that?
No, we do it in-house, but that's mostly James Solanoa. And then because there is so much information out there, I mean, we do rely heavily on people contacting us and informing us of when there's, date and time changes for being when you're open and close or different things like that. So if you know of anything, if anybody knows of anything, I invite them to come in, email me or anything like that. We can change that right there in-house.
Just one example that was pointed out to me, the City Motel isn't called that anymore.
Okay.
And there was, I think the BAC had some corrections on theirs too, they had some issues.
Okay.
With regards
And this
to-
is the time to do it.
Okay.
This is the planning period for the marketing team. So yeah. Yep. All right. Social media for this last year, or for this last month, right in December, we boosted a couple posts, the downtown lights, our new shopping video, but we also did a year in review slideshow with all the new images. Again, there's over 1,000 images that were taken this year. Over half of them were arts-related projects, and then the other remaining were split between outdoors and history and all of that other stuff. So the slideshow from this year is pretty spectacular, and I have not shown it to this group, correct? I don't want to duplicate. But before I do, it had 337 views on YouTube, but when we showed it on Facebook, it got almost a reach of 7,000, 46 shares, and 193 likes. It was by far one of our most popular posts of the entire year. And it allowed us to go ahead and reach our goal of surpassing 4,000 followers on Facebook. There was some Instagram that was on there too, so that boosted that up, and we're only 35 page likes away from 2,000 on Instagram. So I'd like to go ahead and show. Whoop. And seriously, I watched that, and so many great memories from this last year come back. How could you not think that we had an amazing year, as an organization looking at those photographs right there?
What's up, YouTube? I am here in Carson City, Nevada.
No, you're not. Okay. Almost done. Grant projects that I'm working on specifically, there are other grant projects that are coming in. The Highway 50, just to keep you guys on an update, that is on hold. I am just currently working on the website right now, making sure that all the information about the mapping and the dining and the communities are on there. The page is 3/4 of the way built, but it's not live because I want all the communities along the way to buy into that one. But interactive mapping, we've been talking about this for way too long. So we've been working with the city's GIS, Matthew Lawton, Stephanie Pauley, and Michael Baker International. And I'll tell you what, they've been amazing to work with. We could not be happier with the results so far. And this has been a pretty labor-intensive process because putting all of the points of interest into a spreadsheet, making sure that those points of interest match with the app and the website as well, has been the main focus. Now we are working on making sure the pictures are all formatted and that the descriptions are there, but what I wanted to show at least was some progress on the project. So we've got our lodging properties, points of interest for history. This includes all the homes on the Blue Line Trail. You can scroll in on this one and zoom in just like you can on any other map. I'm not going to dive into this too long because I already feel like I'm talking too much. But our restaurants, shops, arts, so this would be galleries and museums. And arts would also include the public art as well. So this is hosted on the Visit Carson City server. So when this comes up, it will come up as a Visit Carson City URL, but it will also have the availability to embed this, which I know Parks and Rec is very interested in using because Greg right now is finishing the trails portion of this, and so that trails map is going to be overlaid on this. So we'll also have outdoors, and so it'll have Ash to Kings Canyon Trail will be a point of interest, and it'll show a line across where that is. A bike shop will be a point of interest. All of the stuff dealing with the outdoors will be on here as well, and you'll be able to click on a trail, and it'll tell you the length, grade, difficulty level, all of that. Show pictures of it. We have the ability to do 1,000-word description, hot links, things like that. So we just wanted to get enough of the points of interest in here to have so that GIS could work with something and so that we could show you some progress on that. So again, I cannot thank that team enough for how great it's been to work with them. They've been awesome. So great progress on that. This again is the map we see it being used citywide, so we're talking about the kiosks in City Hall and things like that as well. So compatible with the app, compatible with websites, compatible with all of that. Through the new relationship with the Latino cohort, we had the opportunity to work. Some students came up and said that they wanted to do an internship with Visit Carson City, and so we've been able to make one of those come to fruition, and that is with a student, Hishe Cardoza. Myself, and Linda Belgray are working on the International Film Festival. That's what she had expressed interest in, and so she's been amazing. I mean, for an intern, solid. I wish they all came like Hishe because she's helped Linda with her digital marketing, emailing. She has put posters out all over town. We've had the ability to translate it into Spanish, and so she, being Hispanic, has been able to get them into the right spots throughout the community. She's also went through and picked out the music selections for each one of the films, a Norwegian one, a Spanish one, and I'm trying to remember what the other one is. But anyway, she's been able to go in and select music too, which has been really cool. Again, she's been awesome. Linda Belgray's been awesome. I think this is going to be by far the best international film festival.
Is she a student of Ruby's?
She is. Yes. She is.
Because she showed us what she was doing. So.
Cool. And then that's it. You guys have any questions?
We got to make sure that International Film Festival is updated. It's not the Brewery Arts, it's at Bodwick Theater.
Cool.
No, thanks, Kyle. Good
Yeah.
report. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
work. Thank you. Yeah, Chris.
Do you have an events updated as well, or is your calendar, you're done with all that? You're done.
I'm done, that's all I got.
So do you guys have any future agenda items you want, other than your advertising comparison?
Not right now that I can think of.
So then upcoming meetings, we have the Cultural Commission next Wednesday, and both Mark and Kyle will be talking about the Capital Collage again and their marketing and all that good stuff. So that's at 5:30 this coming Wednesday, right here in this room. And then our next meeting will be Monday, February 12th at 4 PM here in this room. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you, everyone. Any public comment?
I have one more comment. I just want to let you know that Via Magazine contacted me about the concert Under the Stars, and so John Procaccini has already supplied him with information about the July 11th event.
Excellent.
All right, any other board comments? I'm sorry, any more public comment? Seeing none, okay, board comments, announcements. All right, possible action to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, everybody.